Before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to give a massive shout out and a huge thank you to the incredible team at Wear That Now, particularly my girl, Christelle, for dressing me today. Now, if you're anything like me, going to the mall to find an outfit is particularly stressful, especially after having kids. You end up driving around for hours looking for parking. You're dragging your kids from store to store and potentially offering them sugary sweets just so that you can try on that one outfit. That's a thing of the past because Wear That Now have got your back. What they do is they set you up with your own personal stylist who will create a personalized box to give you a outfit that suits any budget, any style for any occasion. That gets sent straight to your door. You can then try it on in the comfort of your home, and the outfits that you love, you keep, and the ones that you don't, you simply return. It's as easy as that. So if you're anything like me and you want to look good, but you've got no time at all, head over to Wear That Now's Instagram, which is wear.that.now, fill in their style survey and get matched up with a stylist. Enjoy, happy shopping, and I'd love to see your outfit, so please DM me. Hi, and welcome to another episode of They Say It Takes a Village. Joining me today is a woman who is truly remarkable. Kelly Hodgkin is a Dubai-based entrepreneur, investor, business coach, and an advocate for women empowerment. Her story is one of absolute resilience and grit. Now, there's one thing for me to be sitting across the table and interview an expert about resilience, and there's another of actually hearing a story of resilience. And this is exactly what today is. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to the lovely Kelly, and I'm sure you guys are going to love this episode. Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know you've got 1,001 things. I know that I forgot to mention that you're a mom of 3 little boys and a little girl on the way.
Yes, yeah.
Congratulations.
March the 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know how you do it.
Planning.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about that. It's
yeah.
Unbelievable the level of planning that needs to get in.
Yeah.
On this.
This is why I brought out my 2024 Kelly Hodgkin journal for next year.
For the busy person who needs to put everything down.
100%. I'm still really old school. I like to write everything down, cross everything off, highlight everything.
Yeah, there's like a cathartic feeling about that, isn't it? Just
like checklists.
Cross it off the list. I'm going to get straight into it. Obviously, I gave a little bit of an intro about you, but there's just so much more. So do you want to tell the listeners and the people who are watching a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living, as well as how long have you been in the UAE?
So I've been here since 2008. So I think coming up to 17 years. I moved over and started a modeling and events agency, which I still have, still runs itself. I'm a partner in a gym clothing brand called Gym Clothing Co. It was born in the UAE. And I am an investor. I invest in other female businesses. I'm a business mentor. And I run women empowerment events, some small intimate ones for around 20, up to our last few events, which have been about 150 people.
That's amazing.
But not just women, it's men as well. You know, I feel like all the spotlight's on the women empowerment, but I think there's a lot of men in Dubai that need empowering sometimes. So, I really hope for next year to kind of encourage more men to kind of, open up and accept some help and things like that. So mainly empowerment events, networking events, business events, and to showcase other people, other brands, other businesses that are new or just need a platform.
That's amazing. That does a lot for a community, because starting a business and actually knowing what to do is, especially I think anywhere in the world, if you don't have somebody guiding you, you have no idea where to start. And the majority of them end up not lasting.
I think that's why I really started it, because I was putting on these events for, 20 odd plus people. And then they would come to me for like advice. And, it got to the point where I didn't have the time to keep doing that. And that's why I started my mentoring one-on-one. And then I would give, somebody the time to either start their business. And I think when you've been here for that long and you've built businesses and you've made the mistakes, then you're kind of the best person to go to give them the experience and the knowledge that they might need.
Now, again, from an outsider, an outsider looking in, your life looks fantastic. I mean,
Don't believe the gram.
well, that's it. I mean, it's just, you've got, you're quite very successful, tremendously successful, and you've made such an impact. In your professional life, you've got a wonderful family. You've got a wonderful husband, a beautiful home. Again, outside looking in, it's as polished as it gets.
Yeah.
But I guess, again, this episode is one about resilience, and you have a tremendous story, specifically one of childhood resilience. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your childhood? I know it was a bit rocky and a tough upbringing.
I mean, I never want to play the victim.
No,
be like,
but
it was so tough for me. But I just think that sharing my story, and have people maybe resonate and connect with, something that I went through, that they can be like, she went through similar to me and she made it. And
that's still, it's inspirational.
Yeah. So I want to just encourage people that it doesn't matter what's happened to you in your past. You're not, that person anymore, and you can move past it. And no matter what happens to you as a child, like, it doesn't have to define who you are. Mm. So I think, my story, I was adopted when I was very young. I've got 2 sisters. So we were aged 1, 2, and 3.
It's very back to back.
I mean, there's only 10 months between me and my older sister. So
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, kind of very, I don't know how she did it.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't. She gave us away. So we were fostered. We were given away. She wanted us back, like my birth mother. And I think it was just after my younger sister was born, there was a few incidents that the social services got involved in and eventually took us away from her. But it was confusing, and it was, I've grown up my entire life thinking, why wasn't I good enough for her, and why didn't she love us? And, the fear of rejection and the fear of not being loved and stuff. It's something that you carry with you, even though you try and shut it off so much. It's something that's just always there.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that did help me, and it was only maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I started getting help for it, because my entire life I've been fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I can, like, everything's fine. And I didn't think I needed help or therapy or to heal from everything. I just got on with it.
Yeah.
But actually trying to work on myself and healing from things that I didn't want to pass down to my children was so important, and probably has changed my life in the last, 5 years. I think I'm a completely different person inside than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel so much kind of freer and stronger from dealing with the issues that I obviously did have. Maybe thinking, if I needed help, there was some kind of shame on it and stuff, but it's for anyone that needs, or deep down knows that they need therapy or they need to heal from something. Like, there's no shame in it. You need to really heal from things.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you'll carry it through, and then you'll pass it down to your children. Absolutely. Even though you don't want to.
So just take us a little bit all the way back. So you were, do you remember any of these things?
No.
I mean, how old were you when, is there, I guess I want to say was there an inherent problem at that time, I guess, with your birth mom? I mean, how did it all kind of transpire? You've got, she had you and your 2 sisters.
I mean, I think she was addicted to drugs, prostitution. She didn't have a partner. She was 16 years old when she had my sister, she was, by the time she was 18, she'd got 3 children, and, she could barely look after herself. And these are things that I'm learning from my life story book that the social workers had written for us.
So we managed to get those, and
we each were given one. So growing up, we kind of had pictures of, for me, there was no pictures of me as a baby. So there was a picture in the book, and it was like, this is what you would have looked like as a baby, but it's not you.
Yeah.
So we were kind of given a storyline. Okay. So we were aware of kind of what went on, even though, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah. You were very young. I mean, you were what, 3?
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. 2, 3.
So you were in and out. So at that point, you were 3 years old, and your sisters were, you said 4 and 2.
So one older, one younger.
One younger.
Yeah.
And then you bounced around from foster care until a permanent adoption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, what was, again, you're probably reading that in the books.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that?
No, I don't. And
like?
I mean, it was an amazing family. They adopted all of us together. They were a loving family. So it was the first time, we experienced, safety and security and love. And it was an amazing family.
And you were adopted all three of you together, obviously.
Yeah. And we had a lovely childhood. I've got nothing but amazing memories from my childhood of love and family. And it was a big family. It wasn't just a family. It was like my mum had like 6
aunties
sisters and brothers, and my dad had 3 sisters, and they had children. Yeah, so it was big, and it was wonderful. But there was always something in me that, when I was 16 years old, I decided to leave home.
That was my question. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just wanted to ask you, if you were to think back, what was your earliest childhood memory?
It's hard because I don't really have. And it's not early. I was probably like maybe 10 or 11 or 12. And it's just, having a good upbringing and just being in the garden with the family, or my mum was, super happy. Like, there was obviously issues and stuff, and we probably weren't the easiest children, but, my parents were strict but fair. And I don't have any bad memories.
Yeah.
But then, at 16, I decided that, I was going to go it alone, and left an amazing, loving, warm family, and, was sleeping in a car or in a police station. Because
can I ask why?
I don't know. I just think I saw my sister doing it. So my older sister, she left home. She was quite troubled, I think, because maybe she remembered more, or she'd been through it all before us. And she really is, kind of like a victim, we're all very, very different. And I don't know if she's just dealt with everything a lot different. Yeah. A lot different. So she left home, and she was, troublesome, and I was a good kid. My mum and dad will say that I was a good child, and something happened, and I was just like, no. And my mum was like, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. And I was like, fine. So off I went. Stuff, yeah.
How was that like? If I was, let's say, sort of like a fly on the wall at that time, I mean, what would that be like? What was your interactions? I mean, I feel like teenagers, they're not easy. Inherently not easy.
I mean, I was 16. I started working, selling windows for a company in Essex, getting paid under the table because I obviously wasn't old enough to work. And just started working, and that from then on, like, I never didn't work.
Yeah.
I've always had a job, and I've always, looked after myself. And I did go home a year later.
Okay.
And, my mum was there with open arms, and I started working with the profession that I was doing for 8 years. I worked for an opticians and sold laser clinics, and then took over different clinics to make them, to increase their turnovers and stuff. And then when they were fine, moved on, and then did that for 8 years before I moved here. So
it's quite entrepreneurial, right?
Yeah, I've always had it. I think I've always been a fighter, and I'll always succeed, and I'll always hustle and do whatever it takes. Like, I don't need anyone to lean on. I can do it myself, because the fear of maybe being left again and not being have that person to rely on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of where it's come from.
Do you feel that that's eased up a little bit? Do you feel like you're now at a point where you can maybe rely on some people that are trusted? I mean, I feel like we all wear sort of a little barrier, and, there is this self-protecting mechanism.
I'd like to say that I do, but I don't think so. I think there's, I think it's just always in you that you just have to, it's fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
I think it's always there. I think, no, I'm going to say no.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's just that is a protective mechanism.
Yeah.
And that can also be a part of you being as resilient as you are.
Yeah.
That's sort of gotten you out and protected you from pretty bad situations, So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, Speaking of resilience, what does resilience mean to you?
I think resilience for me is being able to look after yourself. Being able to stand up for yourself is, really important. And I think as a child, resilience is just being a fighter. And I think going through life that, you have to be so resilient, and no one sees the kind of like the cracks and kind of what's going on in your head, like all the time. And I think I've got a really good, close knit, group of friends here that I've had since I've been here. And, they get it. They know how sensitive I am and how sometimes not so much anymore since I've just, had some help, but kind of how needy I was and how like, and I could need constant affection and reassurance, and that, things that they do, sometimes I'll be like, oh no, they don't love me. Yeah. But it isn't them, it's me.
So you internalize it.
And it's been difficult with relationships. And obviously, my husband's is probably the worst person to be married to for affection and stuff. But, again, with the self-help and the healing and stuff, it's definitely easing off.
Yeah.
But it's something that I carried all the way into my adult life.
I mean, you would. I mean, look, I feel, there is this thing where it's called adverse childhood experiences, or ACE. I read about it, and it's a point where it is like I guess, if, again, correct me from whoever's listening, I could potentially be wrong, but it refers to, and I'm going to read this, to any type of abuse, neglect, or a dysfunctional home. And that potentially has an effect on somebody's mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
Having said that, so obviously if a child experiences one of the ACEs, they could also have a knock-on effect down the line as an adult. But that's not to say also that, so the definition of resilience is I'll tell you, it says that it's the interactions between adverse childhood experiences and his or her protective factors.
Okay.
So that's not to say that a child's, that because of any of those particular things will be that the child is completely doomed.
No.
So I guess the question is, did you feel that you became resilient because it was an inherently something part of you, or based on your interactions, maybe growing up? Or
I think it was part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've always been resilient because I've had to be.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that obviously would go back to right from the start.
Yeah.
What, again, you've been very open and again, trauma is not something people want to open up and discuss. I find it's very brave to sort of bring it forward and talk about it so openly. And what made you feel that this is something that you wanted to do?
I think honestly, like I've never spoken about it before.
Okay.
Until I started receiving the help. So I think the more you kind of talk about it, the more you kind of normalize it. The more people have messaged me, and they've been through the same things. And as an adult now, that they're like, oh, it was so inspiring to hear, that you also have been through. So I think to talk about it and to be able to help other people is something that really helps me.
Do you find that, it's kind of like there's a saying called name it to tame it. You see it in front of you, and you think, no, I'm going to go through this as a logical adult and see that it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one internalizing whatever the feelings of neglect was, or the feelings of being or feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
Do you think that this was something that you being able to talk about it and opening it up to, lots of people?
Yeah.
Do you think that was part of the healing process?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I definitely do. I think, the more that you talk about it, the more you realize that it wasn't my fault.
No.
As I was a young child, I didn't have a say in it. It wasn't my fault that she didn't love me, or she couldn't look after me, or, none of that was my fault. But, 10 years ago, it was all my fault. So yeah, I definitely feel like the more you talk about it, and the more then you can rationalize that it's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm a good person.
You are a good person, 100%. And that's it. It's children's vulnerability.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the most vulnerable human beings on the planet. So you can't expect a child to look after themselves and provide that level of comfort.
Yeah. But the amount of adults even that blame themselves for these things.
Absolutely.
Like I blame myself for so many years, and, now I can say it wasn't my fault. you know.
But just out of curiosity, I mean, how would you blame yourself?
I must have done something wrong, or I must not have been a good enough kid for her to, you know, to not want to keep me. And, you know, maybe I was too much of a handful, or hundreds of things, or I just wasn't good enough, you know. And that's been something really hard for me to deal with as an adult. Like, you're just not good enough because of the rejection and the fear of having rejection again because you're not good enough.
Do you have any relationship with your birth mother?
No, I've never met her.
You've never met her?
No.
So you don't even remember how?
I've got a picture of her.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to sit down with her now, let's say, after however many years, what would be 3 things you would ask her?
I would probably forgive her.
Okay.
You know, I think that's really important, that, you know, this, to carry so much, any anger or hate towards her, you know, would be probably more detrimental to me. So probably forgive her, kind of ask her, you know, why, you know, find out, you know, obviously I've got my beliefs that, you know, she was just so young and all that, but find out from her, like, why have that many children? And then if you can't look after them, you know, so kind of find out why, because I know that she also had 3 more children and she gave them up as well.
You've got 3 more brothers and sisters?
Not the same father, but yeah. So just kind of why and what, you know, what the story was. Tell her that I forgive her and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with your siblings?
I mean, we're close. We're sisters, you know, we're close enough.
And you've never met the other?
No. So my parents who adopted me, they received a phone call from the social services to say that our birth mum had 3 more children and could she adopt them? And my mum was just getting over cancer. So she was like, physically can't. So we know that there's some siblings out there.
Yeah. What was your relationship like with your adopted parents?
Really good. Yeah. I was a daddy's girl, and, you know, my mum was incredible. She's passed now, unfortunately.
I'm so sorry.
She had cancer 3 times until it finally took hold of her. But it's really good. Yeah. Like I said, they always said I was a good kid. You know, I never asked them for anything as a child, as an adult. Like, I've always just, you know, done it myself.
It's so nice to hear that, yes, you know, the start of somebody's life is extremely rocky.
Yeah.
And it could potentially lead to really bad outcomes.
Yeah.
But then there are almost like little
miracles
that people step in.
Yeah.
And
it could have gone a lot worse.
It could have.
You know, we could have stayed in the system and then ended up exactly the same way my, you know, birth mother did.
Do you have any information of, for example, your grandparents or her parents?
No, nothing.
Unbelievable.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I there was a time where I used to Google her and find, you know, try and find out.
Get a family history.
And then when my mum passed, I kind of left it. But I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to, you know, connecting with her.
So you wouldn't mind. Do you know if she's living?
No idea.
My goodness.
If you're out there.
Yeah. If you're listening to this. So you and your sisters and you guys grew up and stayed. Do you still keep in contact? I mean, do you guys see each other often? Yeah.
Yeah. My youngest sister lives here.
Oh, brilliant.
She lives here. She's got a son who's a few weeks older than my son, my oldest, who's 10. And then my sister, she lives in the UK still, and she has a daughter.
Okay.
She had a daughter when she was quite young, when she was 16.
That's very
so young. My niece is around 25 now.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Full on adult.
Yeah.
Would she move out here? Do you guys see them often?
She did.
Okay.
Yeah, well, both of them moved, and then one of them moved back, and then one of them moved back, and then yeah.
You said you had a chance to kind of sit down and unpack things. Trauma. I feel it's a double-edged sword. There's like 2 camps. Either you completely don't want to deal with it and it's just something that you put away in the far depths of your mind. And then there's another one of, no, let's literally go through and open up everything and deal with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, slowly with a professional.
Uh-huh.
How have you felt over the years? Have you
my entire life, I was like, no, I'm absolutely fine. Let's just not talk about it.
Yeah.
Until maybe, like I said, 5 years ago, when I decided to sit with a few people. And unpack things again, like you said, slowly, and just kind of delve into different things that I do and reasonings behind stuff. And it was mainly because I had children and I did not want to pass down my insecurities to them. So that was the main reason for me kind of looking deep inside and working through these things.
It was what was the catalyst? I mean, is it just after having children?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. Just one day you're like,
yeah,
I can't keep
I just
pushing
didn't
it down.
I didn't want them to feel any of these insecurities that I had, because I know how, it's exhausting kind of living with them. And for me, for it to be a factor that you could possibly pass that on. And they say it's in, even when you're pregnant, your emotions and stuff gets passed down to your babies and stuff. And that was my responsibility to do something about it because of the children.
It's unbelievable. It's wonderful. I mean, it's one of those things that, again, I think everybody has trauma, some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
It's impossible to kind of go through life without a hint of trauma.
Yeah.
And the idea of actually stopping it so it doesn't get passed on, because regardless of what the kids that we do have, at some point will experience something.
But yeah, you don't want to
keep adding on and sort of putting your own baggage and your own things onto them.
For sure. Yeah.
You sort of want them almost to accumulate their own level of trauma.
Figure it out yourself, but don't take my baggage on.
Yeah, I'll be here to support you through that rather than it's mine and I've passed it on to you. So it's a very big step though. I mean, it's a lot, again, having quite a difficult childhood, even with the fact that you can't remember, these characteristics that are part of your personality can be difficult to deal with.
There's things that, and I don't know if they're memories or they're, I'm not sure what they are, but there's a few instances or things that when they come back to you and that I did speak to my mum about it, who adopted me. And I was like, I think this might have happened when I was fostered. And she was like, okay, well, should we speak to the social services and stuff? And I'm just like, but I don't know if it's a memory or if it's something I've blacked out or if it's.
Do you mind asking me what?
Like abuse.
Okay.
And I just didn't know. And I don't want to then make an accusation about something that I wasn't 100% sure of.
Yeah.
That it happened or not. And it's again something I've always wanted to maybe do, that ayahuasca thing to kind of go back. And it says that you can really, like, if something's happened, you can see it from an outside. Like, you can see what happened. But yeah.
I don't know much about, that, but there are so many different ways and people. And it's just, I think everything has a time and a place.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're ready.
Yeah.
There is no point in going down a path when you're just not ready, because regardless of what, that's just going to, I feel like, accumulate onto the already
I do feel like
trauma.
I've dealt with it if it happened, and, there's not like shit I can do about it now.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I'm going to move away from that and ask you about your entrepreneurial journey. So having, you've got that, you sort of had a troubled childhood, then you got adopted, then you were, you ran away from home, and then you went into work.
Yeah.
And that stayed with you. Sort of work mode until present day. Yeah. Give us a little bit of a background.
I've always been a grafter, and I always will be, like, that when if I'm ever sick or anything and I can't work, and for whatever reason, like, I literally go out of my mind if I'm not busy. And I don't know if that's something else to do with childhood, where have to be busy to be accepted or to be
productive.
Or to be, worth something, that I have to be busy and back to back. And again, I really struggle when I'm not busy. But in saying that, I love working. I love providing, for my family and contributing to the family. And I love what it's doing to my children, and they're copying and they're following in the footsteps and stuff. And they're, trying to hustle. And, I think as an entrepreneur, it's something that it isn't something you can really learn. It's definitely something that you're born with. Saying that, my sisters don't, we're completely different. But yeah, it's just something that I've always had it in me.
Being a mom, what was that journey like?
I never wanted to be a mom. I know, crazy, right?
No, I mean, I
never wanted to be a
never
wife
was
or a mother.
maternal.
No.
I was never
always
maternal until I had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always had a fear that I remember when my sister fell pregnant and I was at the hospital when she was giving birth and I was crying. My mum was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "What if she doesn't want it when it comes out? Like, what if she is like our birth mother and she has this, doesn't connect?"
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And same for me. I just thought I don't want to have children because what if I don't love them, and what if I get, I'm the same as my birth mother. So it wasn't until I met my husband that, and we had children, and
You started
obviously,
yeah. Were you fearful during pregnancy? I feel
No.
like pregnancy for me was a scary time. Just the lack of control.
Yeah. No, I had the best pregnancies. I'm so lucky, honestly.
Were you fearful about what the transition of Kelly non-parent to Kelly parent? When you felt pregnant, you felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Then 3 boys.
And 3 boys. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Do you still feel good now?
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, again, the pregnancies were fab. The children, they're great children. We're super blessed.
Yeah.
Probably this one's going to be enough.
I was going to say, but she's got 3 older brothers as well to kind of look after.
And everyone's like, she's going to wear football kits. She's not going to be a girly girl.
I don't think she'll be a girly girl. You guys are outnumbered. It's just you 2.
I know.
Yeah. It's the same. I'm the only girl, but they do tell me I look beautiful from time to time, and that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Basically, if you were to look at your power, if you were to be transported back to either, let's say, the 5-year-old Kelly or the 16-year-old Kelly, what would you tell her? Let's go with the 5-year-old first.
She's going to make me cry.
I'm sorry.
This is something that I do in therapy as well.
Yeah.
Is to go back to that little girl and to say to her that it's the hormones, definitely the hormones, that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Can we get a tissue? I'm sorry, I guess. I'll get you a tissue.
In therapy as well, and it was just to reassure her, like as a little girl, that it will be okay.
Yeah, it will be
because it has been okay, And even the 16-year-old girl that left home, and she had so many like issues, and she was so strong, but really she wasn't. But she just didn't want to. And I think even now, like as an adult, I never want to burden anyone with anything. And like even my friends, some of them said like, you don't open up and you don't do this. But I think you never want to put your shit on other people. And you kind of just, you again, like you're going to be fine. And I know obviously I am going to be fine.
You are fine. Yeah.
But I think to the 5-year-old and the 16-year-old, I would just, take their hands and just reassure them that it's going to be okay.
You're going to be okay. And you're going to get through it. Whatever that is. Yeah.
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 Next question.
Yes. Basically, in terms of you do a lot of work with women. You empower, you run these women empowerment, events and sort of bringing women together. Was that something that you wanted to always do? Did that something kind of come up from already existing businesses, or is
it was kind of something that I fell into. Like so many women were messaging me as kind of like I grew as a brand, and they wanted advice or they needed help, and it was something that I was like, okay, I'll put together an event. I think the first one was like 4 women, and we did like a week's thing where we got together and we brainstormed and I helped them with their businesses and stuff. And then the next one was 8 women, and the next one was 12. And then it went up to about 20 was kind of like the max that I could hold like as an intimate level. And these events were great, but then they needed the one-on-one. So then that's where that was born. And then from there, it was then people that couldn't come to these events. And then that's when we did the much bigger one. So it kind of just fell into place, but it's something that I love doing, and I love helping other women and helping other people. Because I think when I was kind of starting out, there wasn't anyone there, apart from my husband, who, is a great businessman. There wasn't anyone that I could be like, ask questions and stuff.
Sort of bounce off ideas and, have that collaborative approach to things. And I find women in business, I feel there's always going to be support for men. We live in a man's world.
Yeah.
Men can literally go out there, find support, whatever it is, it comes easier.
Yeah.
For women, definitely not as much.
And I also feel like there's a kind of dog eat dog world out there with women as well. And everyone's super competitive. And,
it is.
I was helping women because I enjoyed and I wanted to do it. And I think for me, like, it's really fulfilling when the woman's like, I've started my business and thank you so much for the advice.
Well, I was going to say, I'm like, that probably would make you feel so good. I mean, you single-handedly changed that woman's life.
And for me, that's, when, people say, oh, you help with empowerment, that to me is empower.
1000%.
Like, it empowers me when I can empower someone else.
The thing is also, again, and I don't want to sound in any way whatever, but helping women, I find, over the sort of history, women are traditionally the mothers and the people, the person who stays at home to look after the kids. But it's almost like it's up to them to raise the next generation.
Yeah.
So if you're empowering a woman, she's naturally going to take that at home and raise her kids in a certain way who, eventually these kids are going to be out there and doing productive, wonderful things. So it really does start with her.
Yeah. No, 100%. And
so
like you're saying, with my children as well, like they'll come to me with business ideas and this. And I just think that's so nice that they're looking at kind of the hard work that we're doing and they're being inspired by it as well.
Yeah. Speaking about the kids. Resilience. I mean, our kids grew up here. You've got 3 little boys, a little girl. In Dubai is a wonderful place to raise children. Adversity is not something that they see very often. Do you open up, first of all, about your upbringing?
100%.
To them?
I always have. And, my eldest is really sensitive. And, if he goes through pictures and, he's like, he definitely got his sensitive side from me. And the rest of the boys, they never like met my mum who passed. And, but I talk about it openly to them because I was brought up openly knowing about what happened. Like, I would never remember the situation where we were sat down and we were like told we were adopted, or we kind of always just grew up knowing.
Okay.
So I think that, my parents must have been really open about it as well. So, 100%, like my entire story's out there for my children. One of my kids was listening to a podcast I did a while back and listening to my story and stuff. And it was completely open and honest and raw about, everything about where we've come from, about, how we got to where we are now. And it really keeps them grounded. And I really feel like, in Dubai, like that's really, really important.
It is. Do you ever get a situation where I only ask because I feel every household has, stories of resilience or how to, empower children to kind of fall and then get up, dust themselves off and keep going. Do you do that very often? How do you instill that? Aside from
I think it's probably something that I'm not very good at because I've been through what I've been through.
You're overly,
just get up. Like I don't suffer. Like, I can't, something I really need to work on is patience and stuff with the children and let them.
I think
be
we
children.
all need to work on that.
But it's, I just think I'm a quite a tough love person because of everything that I've been through. I'm not like, pandering to stuff. I'm like, get up and you just carry on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, whether that's the right way, I'm sure there's probably better ways to deal with children.
It's the right way for you. And at the end of the day, you're there. You show up every single day for them, day in and day out. And, it's the best that anyone or any of us can do, really. So, no, it's definitely the right way. For obviously, let's say if you were to look at your life in bigger picture, what would be moments of achievements or milestones that you're really proud of?
Obviously when the children have been born, Last year I celebrated my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
we renewed our vows, and that was
Yeah.
lovely because we could do it with the children. So that was a big achievement for me, I think, having something so precious and amazing, and having
Quite permanent.
I think that's exactly, it's permanent for me is a great word.
Yeah.
And other things in my professional life, when I've had enough money to be able to, pay for my honeymoon and, surprise my husband with this, or to be able to take care of something, and, just little things that I just think I can look after that because I've worked hard.
Any regrets?
Probably my biggest regret is not seeking help sooner.
Okay.
I think doing it obviously for the children is great, but I think for myself, I wish that I had dealt with things sooner.
It's a funny thing with regret. I find a lot of the times I say that a lot. I wish I had done something sooner. But again, I also think to myself,
it came at the time.
It came at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just, things that we deal with in life, whether that's children, whether that's relationships, whether it's, big life decisions. It's almost like you put blocks down.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, it's up to something else.
100%. I'm a true believer in that as well. Everything happens as and when it should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The universe has a plan, and, we're just here for the ride.
Absolutely. And you keep doing, you make the choices, you make the smart moves. You are, as present as you can be, but the rest of it, you kind of have to say, okay, I mean, if this is very hard and I can't deal with it there and then, it's just not supposed to be right
100%.
now. Are you still in therapy?
I mean, I think I do things on a daily basis to help me. I mean, if you had told me 5 years ago that I have like crystals by my bed, I'd be like, yeah.
Do you have crystals by your bed?
And my husband calls them stones.
Okay. I was going to say my husband
and my 2-year-old throws them. But no, I do things every day. Whether it's gratitude, whether it's, I do things with the moon, the full moons now, which everyone's like, really? It's not like you. But I do find these things help, and I do sage a lot of negativity away. And if I do need a cleanse or a refresh, or, there's a blockage, then I do go to a couple of people here that I have in Dubai that can help me kind of reset and restart. So, I think I don't think once you start that you should ever stop, because I think that even when you feel like you're okay, there's still other things you can work on.
I think it's almost like it should be part of a self-care thing.
100%.
It always, I mean, you take your car to service.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of need to service your mind.
For sure. And there's a lady who really helped me who doesn't live here anymore. And she came over recently and she was like, let's do a regression session. I'm like, oh
gosh, how exhausting.
Like? Yeah. They're exhausting. And I find them very
I've never
stressful.
done them. I mean, do you really regress? I mean, I don't know anything about
I mean, like I've done a few with her and another lady, and you go in for a specific reason, and then you end up going somewhere else that obviously clearly needed work. So they do work, but they are exhausting. But we did one when she was here this year, a few months back, and she was like, you don't need this anymore. Like you are where you need to be. And the things that did come up was actually about my sisters, and it was about helping them. And, we kind of looked into that, but I was okay. So that's nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That must be a really nice full circle kind of thing.
It was like, I know who I am, and I know where I'm going, and, the identity thing. And I knew, it was good, but I still sometimes need kind of like a reset and an energy cleanse and stuff like that.
I mean, most of us do, regardless of our childhood. You can have the best childhood going round.
Yeah.
And as an adult, if you don't reset at some point in your life, I mean, you're bound to spiral out of control.
No, for sure. I think it's really important for people that, don't have to believe in, holistic stuff, but it is really important to take a step back and to reevaluate and look at things quite often.
Can I ask, if I take you back to your first therapy session, I mean, what was that like? Did you kind of...
I just cried the whole time.
Yeah.
I think the first few were just just a release, crying is just a release. And there was just a lot of tears, and it was something that you just had to let out,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I feel like the only time that I've kind of went to see somebody was after the kids. It was lots of anxiety postnatally. And that's what it was. It was just tears and the release of those feelings.
Yeah.
Just to kind of have somebody completely impartial listen to me.
Yeah.
And walk me through weird feelings.
Yeah.
And,
and explain that it's normal.
That's it.
Yeah. It's normal what you're feeling.
That's the best part. To hear that it's normal, that I'm not abnormal feeling a certain way, and I'm not abnormal in any of the things that I'm going through at the moment.
And give you the reasons for you're feeling like this because of.
Yeah. The justification was there. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's very powerful talking about things. It's incredible that you are able to talk about, a hurtful past. And it's nice to see, I don't know, your general aura is really positive. You don't strike me as somebody who at all kind of lives in a negative space.
No, never. I think that would be detrimental and exhausting to be negative about and to have like regrets or hatred or any anger towards anything that's ever happened. And, like I said, it all happened because it was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen.
And I'll never be a victim, and I'll always, look on the positive and the bright side of everything. And I try and help so many people to do the same things. And I just think to have any negativity or any, thoughts like that it must be exhausting for people that have that.
It really is. There's nothing, even when you said, for example, if you were to sit with your mom, the fact that you would tell her that you would forgive her.
Yeah.
And that you kind of understand, she could have had a really hard time. That in itself is almost like a breath of, sort of a huge sigh.
Yeah. Because I know my sisters will probably say the complete opposite, and they might have so much, hate for her and resentment. Stuff. Yeah.
Look, it's everybody. I mean, everyone internalizes it. And, it's one of those things that it's a true testament to how far you've come along.
Yeah.
To get to a point where you feel, you're quite comfortable sitting in that. It's kind of, again, negative feelings. They tell you sort of see them, acknowledge them, go through them, and then just
get rid of them.
Goodbye. And they make up who you are. And you can't throw that away.
Yeah.
You are, Kelly Marie Hodgkin, who's gone through, lots of things, but has almost come out the other end. Yeah. And you're now looking in and quite comfortable with that.
Yeah.
There's no pushback. There's no denial. There's nothing about that.
Yeah.
Which says a lot. So I hope that you're so proud of yourself.
I am. No, I am. I'm super proud in how far I've come, and just the first step of getting help. And I just think that's really important for anyone that's listening.
Well, that was my next question.
Anything.
I mean, whoever's listening and watching, what would be your advice if they are listening and they've gone through trauma in whatever way in their life?
I think you need to really, like you said earlier, be ready to face it. And again, you said something about, really taking it slowly. It's not something it will happen overnight. It can take years, months, weeks. And then to find the right person to talk to, it could be, you could talk to somebody and not feel like you're getting anywhere. So I think that you really need to have to find the right person that you feel comfortable with and connect with. But I think take the first step and you'll know if you're ready, and it will honestly, it will change their lives if they do it.
It's the point that you said, find that person. There's a lot to be said about, thinking that you can rely on somebody, and then you have a conversation with them and it just doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
And then you think, no, you
don't get anything from it.
You don't get anything
from it. And you'll know.
Especially if you are really needing to get something in return, which is whatever the feeling might be.
Yeah.
And you've got nothing, move on and find
sure.
something else.
Because they're not cheap either. You could throw a lot of money at somebody, but you really need to connect with that person.
Yeah. What are, let's say 3 things that you do on a daily basis that makes you feel really good?
3 things I do.
Or even the one thing.
Okay. The fact that I'm waking up alive is a great thing. Yeah. I think the 3 things that I do, working out. really helps me. Always makes me feel great. A day that I don't shout at my children. It's a great day. I just think being able to help people for me always makes my day.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of give back and help people is something that I love doing. But like you said, I'm a super positive person about, most things. Just, waking up and seeing the sunrise for me is an amazing thing.
Yeah. Bring it back to basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're lucky to be alive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And in terms of, let's say your self-care, exercise being one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super important. I don't think I'm lucky enough that I can train being pregnant and still work out as much as I can. But yeah, self-care and just taking some time with yourself is really important.
Yeah. For me, it's just, if I don't have a coffee by myself in the morning, the whole day is upside down.
Yeah.
I just can't. I need a good 45 minutes. And I usually do it in the bathroom.
No one can bother you.
Yeah. So no one can bother me. It's just the start of the day. Everyone's got that one thing.
Yeah.
What can we expect from Kelly in the next, 5 years?
Like I said at the beginning, I really want to open up my events and my networking things to men. So I really feel like that they don't have the support here that they should. And I think there's so many entrepreneur like males that starting businesses and stuff, and they need help and they need support and stuff. Yeah. And I know it's hard for men to actually admit that, I could do with a bit of help, or, their egos get in the way of kind of, talking, especially to women and stuff. But I do have a couple of business mentor clients that are men. So hopefully in 2024, that changes and that kind of grows a bit more. And then, just continue to take over the world. Yeah,
that's it. World domination. And if people who are listening, if they want to reach out to you, join the mentorship program, how do they do that?
You can go onto my website, which is www.kellyhodgkin.com, my Instagram, which is Kelly Marie Hodgkin, or you can email me at kelly@kmhevents.com.
Kelly, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
I feel like that was a therapy session.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's not easy to open up about childhood. It's not, it's, at the end of the day, where we come from, how we were parented, how we were raised will always be sensitive.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens. And the fact that you've had, a childhood that wasn't ideal, it is hurtful. And the fact that you're able to come and talk about it, and people who are listening are probably thinking, this is a positive story.
Yeah.
It's not a negative story. No. It's not something that, things went bad to worse.
Yeah.
You sort of, you kind of channeled it into good, into helping the community, into helping yourself, enriching your family life.
Listen, I think if we can help one person with this podcast, or one person with my story, or, make someone realize that, they've got this, or that that they should get help, or that, that they're not the person that, that they were brought up to be, they can be more. If anything that we can help, then we've done a good job.
You're not, what was it? The sum of your experiences, or whatever you are. You are an individual and ever changing and always evolving and growing.
Yeah.
So there's, just because something has happened, and again, it's easy to say that from my point of view, you can almost rewrite history,
100%.
In your own ways. And, that's the reason why I kind of hunted you down and, sort of brought you here, because I thought it was so inspirational.
Yeah. There's one thing the one book that I've read that's really, really, really helpful is Dr. Joe Dispenza on basically rewiring your brain. Yeah. It's really, really good if anyone needs extra help.
I'll link it. What was the
I think it's I don't know.
I'll send it to you. Send it to me and I'll link it.
I've got baby brain right now.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And thank you again.
You're welcome.
Being pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and doing a podcast and talking about this.
Hormones.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to They Say It Takes a Village. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I look forward to bringing you another one next week. Don't forget, please subscribe, rate, and review, so I can reach and help even more parents. And if you've got a topic that you'd like me to cover, please head over to my Instagram page, ittakesavillage.me, and drop me a line.